All right. So in the previous previously, what we did is that we modified login to use the service to find the user by username and password, right? And we moved that logic. We moved it to a centralized service. Yes, right? But we didn't do it yet for the profile. The profile still is using the local array. Yes. So let's modify this controller to behave the same way like the login. Right? Instead of doing this, we want to remove this from here. Instead, what we want to do is just like the login controller did, is going to the profile controller is going to want to ask the infrastructure for an instance of the user service. Okay, and ideally, what it would do is that the user service would allow me to do this. What is it? Iterate over the collection of all the users, look up for the user whose ID is that. Yes? Right? Meaning we want to remove this from here, right? And instead do something like var user equal user service, something like find user by ID. Yes? And we pass in as argument the user ID. Correct? And then based on whether the user exists, right? We would do something like just scope user, and that. That's it, right? Something like that. If we want to just replace this. So we're going to remove the logic that does that. We're going to remove it from here. We're going to go into user service and implement that. This doesn't exist on the user service, does it? Right? It doesn't exist. So let's implement it. Let's go to the service. Right? And let's implement function find user by ID. This is user ID. And there's our for loop. If it finds it, we're going to return the user sub u. If it doesn't find it, we're going to return null. Yes? Okay. And we're going to expose this as one new member of our API, so that it's accessible to the instance, the user service instance. Okay. So that now the profile should work without the need of having the local array. Yes. So let's refresh. If I refresh the profile, notice that it works just the same. It works the same. I can even step through it. If we look at the profile controller, put a breakpoint right here, and you should become very, very familiar with stepping through your code. You should feel very comfortable stepping through your code, putting breakpoints and seeing how it works. Right. So if I refresh, notice that it's right there. Right. It wants to call this function. Let's go into the function. There it is. It's in the for loop. It's going to start iterating over the array. It's looking for the user ID 234. So presumably it's looking for Bob. Yes? So let's put a breakpoint here and a breakpoint here. Those are the only two ways of leaving this function. Continue. There it is. It found Bob. Right? The user ID is, that's user, kernel user. It's mapped to 234. So presumably this is 1. It found, this is the first one right there, number 1. And it's going to return that. And we're going to continue. And it renders as Bob. Everybody okay? All right. So it works, right? So there it is. We've created a profile, and let's move on to register and update and things like that next. All right. So let's do that.